It's yet a continuous beautiful morning as we journey on, coming to the climax of the last day of morning at NTV this week. Thank you so much for having been with us from Monday till date. Now, this morning in our Kickstarter, 6 months down the road, how is the art sector performing? And especially in light of the fact that we are in a new financial year that kicked off as of 1st July 2023. Evolution of the music industry in the post-internet era. Now, when the internet came in, of course, there was a lot of pressure. There was peer-to-peer file sharing services at the time, such as Bluetooth, and when you had this becoming a norm in the millennium turn, so many people predicted that the music industry, among other entertainment sectors, was headed for impending doom and catastrophic losses in sales. To some degree, that was the truth for a few years. These predictions became a reality, records sales falling drastically, and of course this was due to piracy at some point X. However, as technological changes continue at a rate never seen before, the impact of the internet has been expanded well beyond illegal downloading to include fundamentally different ways of distributing, promoting and marketing music. Since it's 6 months down the road, we want to assess the performance of the arts and music industry so far, and help us digest this conversation is a journalist in the arts industry, Andrew Kaggwa from Daily Monitor. Good morning to you, Andrew.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah. So you have been here for quite a while. Could you walk us through your journey from buying the CD to then Bluetooth coming in, then you can share the file to your friend, you don't need to go to the store, and then the CDs came in and then they have been eliminated. Now you get it on YouTube, and then some artists are saying, no, you can now go to my Spotify account, pay a certain amount of money and get my music.
Well, I think I wasn't lucky enough to buy a lot of CDs, because I think by the time I was more interested in music, people were already sharing it via flash discs and the like. So I've been at the level where people are consuming a lot of music via, you download it, and at that time you do not know if the music you're downloading is illegal or not. But it was one of the only ways that were possible, because I think in Uganda there was one person that was selling CDs, and the shop is still open, but they no longer sell CDs. They sell music instruments now. Okay,
where is that shop?
They used to be called Music Land.
Okay.
But at the moment...
Oh, is it the one I see on Kampala Road?
Yes, it's on Kampala Road.
Okay.
But they sell musical instruments. So if I got a chance to buy CDs, I remember in 2004, I bought an album of Michael Jackson, Invisible. Then it was a year old.
You bought it when the album was a year old?
Yes.
Okay.
Because we did not have a lot of pirates then, so the albums that we used to get were original and very expensive. So you had to buy it when you really wanted, you really liked the artist. So I bought an album of Michael Jackson, and I think...
How much was that?
It was about 10,000. And then later in 2015, I bought Bebe Ku's Go Mama. Yeah, then actually at that time in 2015, because I had started dealing with very many artists, I bought very many CDs of Ugandan artists, because I think I bought Kenneth Mugabe's Chibunomu, Kaz Kasozi's, I don't remember the title.
And that's the phase when they would have album launches, right? Yeah. And then they would have to auction this particular album for a lot of money.
Yeah, but for the artists I bought were not very mainstream. Okay. So they rarely had those launches. So this buying that unit album was really a very big push, and most of the times they were selling these albums themselves, so you gave them the money direct, and you knew you're directly supporting.
Clearly the industry has come a long way. In light of that and where we are right now, evolution of the music industry, let's talk about the 6 months that we have had so far, which have pretty much been the last 6 months of the last financial year. What have been the positives, the developments out of the music industry?
6 months, I think people are back out. I thought it was going to take longer. and of course it's taking longer for regular being out, because if you can notice that by the time we went into the lockdown, Ugandans were literally out all the time. Today it's easier to go to town at about 11 and no one is there. So people are not really back out, but at least people are back to concerts. So the past 6 months at least, we've had Spice Diana, we've had Jose Chameleon, we've had Palazzo, we had Alien Skins concert, which was planned in 4 days, and it's still happened in 4 days, and it was a sellout. So when it comes to the attendance of music concerts, even people branching out, like you see the story we have in Scoop today is talking about performing DJs. When it comes to people branching out and consuming more, we've had DJs organize concerts, their own concerts. So I think it's not been very bad when it comes to us convening to consume music as an art. But then when it comes to the music coming out, trust me, besides looking at a few songs, I cannot say we've had a very successful 6 months of music. The music that has been coming out is very forgettable.
Oh wow, that's disturbing. Let's move away from music and maybe look at the other elements of art. You have film, you have theatre, you have dance, that have also in one way or another become very prominent and consumable here in Uganda, especially for middle class and the luxury, quote unquote. So investment in those areas of the arts industry, has it started to reap returns? Because it looks like they're doing more investment than they're getting out.
I don't think they're doing more investment than they're getting out. Like, you cannot tell me Multi-Choice is not getting out. One, there's been more investment.
Multi-Choice is an enabler. So.
There's been more investment in film than any art form, which most of the times makes me look at all the federations and associations that keep cropping up in music, like, hey, what are you guys doing? Because if these guys are getting more and yet the results are not very, very visible, like, what exactly are you doing with yourself? But when there's been more investment in film, the results can be seen. The results have their own fears. For example, the investment in film has mostly happened on television. And when we have 2 pay TVs, each of them is buying content. Of course, one is paying more than the other. That's why one is more pronounced than the other, but there are 2 pay TVs that are trying to pay for content. It is a very good thing filmmakers are getting paid to make films or to make content for these TVs. The only danger is that you can't actually grow an industry when you're not in the cinema, or when people are not convening and paying to see you. Case in point, if you're to directly look at that in the music way, is that you cannot build a music industry by dominating the airwaves, by simply having your music on the airwaves. You need to have that visibility where you stage a concert and people come and see you and pay for it. Oh,
that's why we see the international artists, they are stinking rich, but they will not stop having the world tours.
Yes, because that's why you make the actual money. I know you will hear very many Ugandans talk about of how so-and-so is making a lot of money from streaming. Like, at times it's the record label making that money. And at times the record label is not even making that much money. The other time someone was saying that to make real money through streaming, you need to be Drake, because Drake is one of those people that has about 5 songs, and each of those 5 songs has more than 1 billion streams.
Let's talk about that streaming right there, actually, because it's an opportunity window for artists. But how best can they jump into it and utilize it?
It's believed to be a window.
That will close anytime?
No, I'm saying it's believed to be an opportunity window. Yes, it is an opportunity window. It's like someone showing you a mountain and they're like, that mountain is full of gold if you start digging it up to the ground. of course, probably someone will be strong and they will dig it up to the ground and get all the gold, and then others will start digging and somehow fail on the one. They're like, okay, or someone will dig and they'll get a piece, 2 pieces.
Right.
So that's how clearly how it works. One, they will tell you it's an opportunity window, but when you look at the payment formats, the way they are paying artists, it's like you need about 1,000 or more streams to just earn $1.
Okay, so let's look at channels like YouTube, because we see a lot of film companies moving their content to YouTube, and they're putting all their dramas and their series on YouTube. They are making a buck.
Yeah, but I don't think anyone is making back their budget.
Okay.
Because I don't really think anyone makes a film with an intention of getting just 10% of their budget back. YouTube is working very well for people that are not investing a lot of money. People that are recording their videos with a phone, they're not editing them. Basically, they are not making an investment. But you cannot tell me that Lookman is going to invest about 80 million for a short film. Okay. And he's making back about $1,000. And you tell him to channel and focus on that. Like, people are spending a lot of money to make the music, to make the films, so yeah, streaming is working, but the way it is being sold is a bit deceptive. Okay.
And from your analysis, it sounds to me like we are going to go back to our traditional ways, while our artists, thanks to COVID-19, had upgraded a little bit to maybe put your music on a streaming site, do some online concerts, some, they call them, what do they call it, where they just invite a few people to release a song.
Listening parties.
The listening parties. It seems like people are going back to the old ways of, doing their art, which is having the Kayola concert vibes and just have many people coming for your thing. Yet we wanted to upgrade from that.
You see, before streaming happened, the other way people used to make money from their music was through album sales. Because if I buy a unit album at, say, $5, that $5 either goes to the record label or the artist if the artist is independent. Okay. And those are $5. At the moment with streaming, what's happening is I'm going to pay $5 to consume each and every album that comes out. That's each and every album that comes out. So dividing my $5 among 20 or something albums I will listen to in a month, including a number of singles I will listen to in a month, like, you might find an artist actually getting a cent for me listening to them. So at the moment, streaming is not one way people can look at to make money. But concerts have always been the biggest ways artists make money. It's the only reason why people go to tour for a full year, because that's one show of making money. The other way that they can make a lot of money is positioning themselves. You look at the brands we have in Uganda, you position yourself for them, you say...
But how many of those brands want to invest?
How many of those?
And then they can't invest in all of the artists.
Yes. At the end of the day, even when it comes to concerts, not everyone sells out. Yeah. Some will sell out. The better you plan your things is the more you make. Okay. So just plan for your music. I liked a song Epas did, Chupa Kuchupa. Like, it was a vibe, and at the end of the day, you saw a beer brand came and actually sponsored the video, had their branding in the video, and I believe it was paid at the end of the day. Okay. Like, those are other ways people can...
In conclusion, what's the future of the arts sector, at least for the remainder of the year?
The remainder of the year, okay, we're getting into that season that's very, very busy, because most of the times after we cross October, like, everything after that is a vibe. So one, Ugandans are willing to spend. That's a very good thing, regardless of how broke we are. We're willing to spend. People should be bringing their films out. The film industry has been sleeping on the job. When it comes to exhibiting our films, we've been sleeping on the job. But we should be bringing our films out. We should try to leverage the platform that TV has given us, so that people can see us more in the cinemas as well. And we should be consistent at it. Because like last year we had Kafako and people were happy. We had Beneath Beauty, people were happy. But after these films were out of cinema, like no one came up to fill that space.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Andrew Kaggwa, for enlightening us and giving us the hope for the next 6 months. It's been a very interesting conversation, having a simple analysis of the evolution of music into 2023. Of course, this marks the end of our conversations here in Morning at NTV. Now, as we close out, there's a conversation, of course, that we had earlier that was very, very, very interesting. Andropause. Andropause, of course, being the menopause version of men. There's a lady who had shared a very simple trick because the doctor here recommended that you must have a lifestyle change. One of those changes has got to do with your diet, and as men, they always love their meats to death, and so her husband hated vegetables, but the time was in such a way that they had to change diet for him. So he hated vegetables. What she did, she got those vegetables, blended them, and she'd always put them in sauces like beans and peas, so he would end up eating the vegetables, enjoy the sauce, and have a healthy lifestyle. So in the support of men, going through this phase of andropause, let's do everything in a lighter way that can enable them have the lifestyle they need to go through that phase. Well, that marks the end of Morning at NTV, the week's edition. It's been a pleasure being in your company on behalf of Chris Igenyi and myself, Priscilla Regina Naloga. Good weekend.